Hi guys,
Hello.
How are you doing? Yay! So
We're excited because we just introduced our dogs for the first time.
it's pretty cute. If you guys want to see a little
I don't think you can
hug
turn it.
lug.
I think
No,
you got
you
it.
can't. Okay, here we go. There's Nala and there's Bambi, and Nala just wants to bite her.
And Melrose is hiding.
It's been very entertaining all day.
Very.
Dog entertainment. That's where it's at.
Yes. So we are on week 3 of our NVC conversation, our nonviolent communication conversation. And this week we are excited to break down that which we identify as our needs, right? Once we identify what it is we want and what that will look like.
Mm-hmm. So, we have to figure out, like, what is the unmet need? Like, what is it? I mean, you know, it's so easy to sit around and be like, well, this is, you know, to say that you have needs, but this is giving us a chance to kind of step back and say, what is it that I actually need? And this gives us also the opportunity to look at, am I a victim here, or am I what they call a creator? So these are some of the things we're going to dive into. Right. So number 1 is, how does one get from a victim to a creator?
Right.
Okay, so victim language is going to look like, there's just, here's silly examples. There's never parking, which is why I'm late to class every time, okay?
Number 2, I'm just not good at this.
Right, like I just suck at doing this, whatever it is. And another example is, if you wouldn't have ... wrong me, said that, did this, then I wouldn't have reacted in the way that you might have reacted. So
what this does is it immediately lets us off the hook in a way that we essentially don't have to take responsibility for the way that we are interacting with the world around us. Mm-hmm. So this is really, really helpful to the ego, but it's not helpful to our soul's expansion. It's not helpful to connection, and it's not helpful for us to grow through the things that we experience in life.
And you guys, it's disempowering.
Mm-hmm.
You are just saying, this is the world, it's the world's fault that things are happening to me. So right. This helps you take control of how much I love that word, of how it's coming out in my language, right? Because language is very powerful.
Right. So we want to show you those specific examples again and what those can look like when you take yourself out of that victim role and place yourself right into the creator role, which, mind you, is at this point a choice. And it takes conscious awareness. Obviously, sometimes there's going to be situations where things are moving so fast that we fall right into that victim role faster than we can even realize that we've done it. But when we have a little bit of awareness, we can take those victim things that we maybe want to say or maybe are thinking and turn them into what's called the creator role. Mm-hmm. So for the parking example, the creator statement would be, there's never parking, which is why, the parking situation is challenging, so I'm going to leave a little bit earlier to make sure I make it to class on time, and I'm not the person that's walking in late.
Yeah. Another example, right? So to the, I'm just not that good at this, you could say, I need more practice, or I may need some one-on-one help with this, or just some, so asking your friends, reaching out to people.
Right. And what I want to identify here in these 2 statements is that you are specifically saying, I need, right? You are already immediately identifying what your needs are. I just need more time with this, or I need help, which leads us straight into the request part. So for number 3, this one is a little bit more interesting and a little bit more nuanced. So for number 3, it's if you wouldn't have blank, I wouldn't have blank, kind of saying that it's your fault that I reacted in this way. And sometimes that can feel really true. But what we are able to do here is to take, again, responsibility for our reactive state and say, I'm sorry that I reacted in the way that I did, right? Taking ownership for how we may have partaken in this type of violent communication. And then saying, I realized that the situation was challenging for me, right? I realized that it triggered me. I realized that it brought some things up. And then what this does is it takes us and places us right into an opportunity to be able to have the nonviolent communication conversation, which is in the first video of identifying our feelings, stating what our needs are, and making a request. So those are the examples we wanted to give you of the difference between taking the victim role and taking the creator role. So there's a couple of different. What this does, as I said, is this allows us to identify what the request may need to be. And so we wanted to talk about the 3 different types of requests that can show up once we identify our feelings and our needs around a situation.
Mm-hmm. So the first one is completely external request. Okay, so this is something that you know clearly that you have like a boundary, right? So I'm going to use Zoe for example. She's going to love this. So Zoe, I don't know if you guys know this about Zoe, but Zoe turns into a pumpkin at midnight. So
way before midnight.
11 p.m., 10 p.m. Really. So pretty much Zoe does not like to hang out past 9 p.m. So Zoe's request can be like, yes, I will come and hang out with you, but can we make it so it doesn't go past 9 p.m.? Right? So this is a clear boundary that Zoe has, and it's not, whatever her reasons behind it, it is something that she knows about her body mind, that she needs this boundary. So what this also does is it lets me know, or whoever else know, that, hey, I'm not going to expect Zoe to want to hang out at this point, and it's not personal, it's just her boundary. It's a clear and concise boundary. Lovely, sweet, easy, and you can apply that so many places, but it does get deeper.
Yes, so that leads us into our second type of request that we can make, and these are completely internal requests. Okay, and this can be a little bit interesting to unpack. So I want to sort of give an example of this. When we are identifying a request that we may need to make, we are given the opportunity to ask ourselves a specific question. Is the need that I need to have met my responsibility, or is it somebody else's responsibility? In the case that Adrian was saying, this is an external need that can be expected or requested of someone externally. There are completely internal needs as well, and this comes in with nuances of wounding and old hurts and pains that kind of come up and that we may need to address on our own. One of the most easy ways to identify this is that with the example I'm going to give you right now, and that is with jealousy in relationships. Oftentimes jealousy can arise because we have old wounds that have really harmed us in the past, that have made us feel maybe a lack of trust or maybe uncertainty about our security inside of our relationships, and that's okay and completely normal. But what an internal request or situation can look like is, let's say, for example, you're in a relationship where jealousy is arising, right? Let's say you are the one who's experiencing a jealous arousal in your body. Your partner maybe is texting or talking to somebody and it is making you specifically uncomfortable. This may not be the situation. Of course, there's so many different nuances to this, so know where you are inside of the situation. This may not necessarily be a good time to make an external request. It is not necessarily fair to meet your insecurities or feelings of jealousy or lack of trust and place that on someone else. It's potentially an invitation for us to identify where we may need to address our own internal insecurities. Mm-hmm. So an external request would look like, I don't want you to text them anymore, which is not necessarily a healthy way to have a connection with someone. It's not a necessarily healthy way to invite connection into your romantic relationships. So when we start to notice that these types of insecurities or feelings are arising inside of us, this is a time where we need to recognize or realize that we are giving an opportunity to potentially meet our own need. How can I allow myself to feel more secure? How can I allow myself to feel, to identify the trust that I do have with my partner, right? And in this situation also, leads us into the third type of request. And that is shared requests, or requests that we can make and work on together as a unit. And this goes with friendships, with parents, with kids, and in romantic relationships. In this specific jealousy situation, this is where nonviolent conversation can be had about, hey, you know what? I'm realizing that jealousy is kind of happening inside of me. I'm feeling jealous, and I trust you, and I'm not entirely sure where this is coming from, but I wanted to tell you that these are kind of stirring inside of me, and just so that you can be aware, and I want you to know that I'm working on identifying what that's about. So if you could, and this is where a request can come in, if you could just be cognizant of that and know that those feelings might be inside of me, and maybe I need a little bit more of connection validation during times when you might be communicating with other women, or whatever the situation might be. And so you're not necessarily telling them what they can and cannot do, but you're telling them how they can help you feel more secure in your relationship with them.
Yeah. So those are all very difficult conversations, some harder than others, but I always notice whenever I'm working with my needs part, when I really look at it, a lot of the times I'm finding that I can meet those needs myself, right? And that a lot of this situation has nothing to do with the other person, right?
Yes, which is super empowering, and it's frustrating. Like, the ego wants to blame and say, no, this is all you and you gotta fucking fix it. But we can fix it ourselves, and it gives us the power to say, you know what, I have autonomy in my life, and I am the creator of my experience. We're excited because next week we'll be diving into more of that autonomous part and the relationship and connection that we have with ourselves. So tune in next week, and if you have any questions or want to further this conversation even more, you can email us or comment in the section below.
And we did have somebody ask us about children last week. So Zoe and I, we're not parents ourselves, but we are doing lots of a lot of thinking and researching, so we will get back to you on that. Yay. All right, so have a beautiful day, and we love you all.
Bye.
Bye.